One of the really important things that you can do for yourself now or anytime, especially now, because Saturn, which is about discipline, structure, really getting serious about what you're doing, manifesting something, bringing it down to reality, and really putting the effort and work in, applying something, it wants results. It doesn't just want theories, ideas. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, well, when? And what are you actually going to do? What are you going to get this done? Yeah, so it really demands that you take action and that you really make something happen. That's what Saturn is. And so Saturn is moving through Pisces, and Pisces is about spirituality and self care and spiritual practices. It's about blending the seen world with the unseen, the invisible world to the real world, the tangible to the spirit world, I guess you could say. So we're sort of drawing a bridge between our higher power and reality and the earth plane and our mundane, everyday, real concrete, practical lives that we live. And so, um, you know, it's very important that Pisces over the next 2.5 years really gets grounded and gets structure and, fulfills what they need to fulfill and make commitments and make promises to themselves and really get grounded. And so I'm here to suggest to you that it may not be a spiritual practice, or if it is, then preferably make it a flexible one. But it's important to get grounded when it comes to your spirituality, and that is something that I am really thinking about doing. And quite honestly, I have not been doing that enough, and I haven't been doing it as much as I feel that I should have. I really wish that I have been meditated more. I wish that I would have journaled more. And also, I have a huge variety of oracle cards, many decks of those oracle cards, and I'm really thinking about taking those out and really starting to use them, perhaps as a practice. And the thing is, um, it's really, a great and opportune time to do this because Saturn is in this sign. Um, I'm sure that a lot of us have said that we were going to do our meditation, do this, and then we don't end up doing it. And I am coming to the realization that I have not been doing it as much, that I haven't been sort of, going in the road of, self improvement, I guess you could say, and having that layer of spiritual meaning in my life. And I feel like I ought to start doing this and really doing the spiritual practices, getting out in nature more, meditating more, whatever you define as a spiritual practice. Point is, and I'm going to say this, and this is going to be sort of something that I need to hear, and this may be a rude awakening. It may not be. But, um, I think we all need to start getting grounded with our spirituality if we haven't yet. Um, because so much of our lives, and I realize this is what I'm going to say is probably going to touch many nerves out there, and it's going to be kind of rattling and probably is going to stir up guilt and be sort of, in your face and a shot at you. But so much of our lives is centered around social media and technology. And we're so absorbed into that. But what about connecting with the people in our actual lives more? What about getting out into nature more? What about interacting with the physical reality? And I want to say this in an honest and direct, meaningful way, as you would hear a really famous spiritual teacher say it. Um, is, sitting around watching videos on, posts all the time, making videos, isn't considered a spiritual practice. It isn't considered, well, it depends on how you define spiritual practice. I don't want to box it into, this particular thing is a spiritual practice. It's however you define a spiritual practice or something spiritually healing, or, gives you meaning and, wisdom and guidance for you to do in your own life. But the time to start doing it is now. But I also, in that same side of the coin, mean what I say when I say that, so much of it is, I don't necessarily scroll through TikTok. I don't do that because that is abuse of content. TikTok, that, obnoxious app, I use it, but I use it. I don't update as much on it, and I don't scroll through it. It's kind of obnoxious as an application and an app, if I have to be perfectly honest. It is designed so that when you open the app, a video starts playing, and then as you scroll through, you are abusing, and I mean abusing, content, binge watching, just you're watching things, and it's just so exhausting. It's just so meaningless, and it can be a waste of your time. And if I did that long enough, and I was noticing inside me, oh well, how am I using my time? How am I wasting my time? I should be using my time for something more productive, something more useful, something better for me, something more worth it to me, something, as I said, more meaningful to do. So, I don't know. I've seen videos of people talking like this and saying these things that I find sometimes it touches a raw nerve. So, I may have done that. Now, I am guilty of spending a lot of time on social media, doing all these things. I'm guilty of it. I don't want to pretend that I do the things that I say that I do when I don't do them as much as I probably should do them. I don't like it when people assume that I do things or assume things about me that aren't true, or assume things that um, are, that I have achieved when I don't feel that I deserve to have someone say that to me, have someone, say, oh, you do this, really well, well, actually, I'd rather be honest and say, guess what, this is actually, my life is not as eventful. There's not a whole lot going on in my life, or I've actually been, watching more videos instead of reading books. I've actually been, those kind of things. And so, just when people assume, um, things about me that are not true, then it kind of, I don't know, it just kind of makes me feel bad about myself. And it's coming from them and it's not coming from me. And I don't like how that looks reflected back to me. I don't like how that makes me look personally. But in general, this is about becoming serious, and I'm going to speak directly to anyone born. I'd say 1935 to 37, if I'm getting that correct, 1964 to 66, 1993 to 95, 1994 to 95. If you've put spirituality or spiritual journey or spiritual practice, you engaging with the world in your life in a spiritual way, and your own spiritual truth, if you've been putting that on the back burner, then now is the time to get honest about that and face the reality and go, now is the time to get myself back on track, or go on a path, or really evaluate and assess my truth and get grounded about my spirituality, or my spiritual practice, and really start living, doing things in my life that are healing and give me meaning, etc. So that is super important, especially when you have Saturn return, and it may hit even harder for those who have not done the work. For those who've been avoiding their Saturn calling, their Saturn sign, their real purpose in this lifetime, which a lot of it relates to Saturn, because Saturn is the planet of what are you here to become? Who are you here to be? What is your purpose in this lifetime? Someone that I know of, who I've followed for many years now, Deborah Silverman, refers to Saturn as the high school principal. Is you go into his office and he says, what have you done in your life? How have you lived your life? Tell me how it's going. What have you achieved in your life? And it's sort of, an evaluation when you have your Saturn return. I have a whole nother video about the Saturn return and what that means and what that's really all about. So it's really a reality check when you have your Saturn return. It's what you've done is written on the wall, and you can't take back the past, but you can do what you can in the present moment to lead, make a better future, and grow, mature, live, better life, and really do the things that you want and feel that you need to do, and really live the fullest life, most fulfilling life, where you feel like you achieved and accomplished what you wanted to. And so, so, evaluating that. I know someone who is going to have his Saturn return April next year. I believe so, or, sometime next year. And, I also, establishing, spirituality, your spiritual path is important, and it may require more work, more effort, and it may be more challenging. And that may be an area where you felt limited in because of that Saturn energy, which can be malefic. But it sort of gives you the reward, gives you the satisfaction, and eases off its influence, and is becomes easier as you sort of mature, get older, and as you put in the work, um, because Saturn is not Jupiter. Um, and so, because those are very different planets. So it is time to look in the mirror and see your life as it has been and then moving forward. Um, and so, and for anybody, Saturn's going to go retrograde this month, and it's going to review. It's going to, you're reevaluating. You're re-looking at this issue. You're going within to see really what you've done in your, since this transit has begun, or since Saturn entered the shadow, of which the shadow is, when a planet enters shadow, it means that is the territory that the planet is going to go retrograde at. When it enters shadow at that degree that it enters shadow is the degree that it is going to station direct at. When it eventually stations direct after its retrograde. So I want to say, at the beginning of this Saturn in Pisces transit, what have you not done? What have you, what have we, where have we not put in the work, and did our due diligence and chopped wood, carry water in our lives, and etc. So, yeah, I am planning upon really getting my oracle cards and really start implementing and adding in and integrating spiritual practices, and reading more books, getting out in nature, walking more, all those kind of things into my life. This is kind of limiting, and I have not been doing that as much, and less social media, etc. Cutting it back more, moderating it. Um, and so yeah. And like everything, it's fine in moderation, but too much is too much. And if you feel like it's a waste of your time, if you feel drained, if you feel like, oh, what am I doing? I should be doing, more things that are more meaningful to me, etc. Then it's a good idea to do those things and balance those things out in your life, and balance it accordingly, and bring those things as concrete spiritual practices, I guess you could say, spiritual things, that you do into your life. So that is what I want to say about this. And planets are planets, energies are energies, and they're there, but let's use it. Let's apply what, we're given. This is an invitation, this is an offering, and let's try using it. Let's try taking advantage of it and maximizing it, and not letting it just, this transit of Saturn and Pisces, in this case, pass us by. So, maybe you can let me know in the comments, or if you want to, maybe what you're thinking about doing as something spiritual or as a spiritual practice. But anyway, that's all for now. Bye, everybody.